I would like to have a certifications motion. Thank you.
Okay. Certification motion. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that closed meeting was conducted in conformity with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as required by Section 2-2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, and certify that the only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, at this time, we will vote. What was this under my foot? I got it. Okay, thank you. The vote passed. Thank you. Okay, good evening. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to our regular board meeting. And I also would like to say Happy New Year to you. If this is your first time out, of course, I want to say welcome. Welcome to Wight County School Board regular monthly meeting. And thank you for coming out. Next thing on our agenda, we will have Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence and we will be led by our Assistant Chair, Mr. Cunningham.
I pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Oh, this chair is just something wrong with the rollers. It's not rolling. Okay. That one? It won't roll.
Number 10.
Okay. At this time, we will have the Isle of Wight Achievers. And the Isle of Wight Achievers this month is, which building are they from, Ms. Getz?
Hello. Hi. Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Thornton, members of the board. I'm no Lynn Briggs,
Okay.
but I am going to do my best to fill in for her tonight and do the Isle of Wight Achievers.
Okay.
The vision for Isle of Wight County Schools is to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique talents and gifts. The Isle of Wight Isle of Wight Achievers section of our board meeting gives us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate our students and staff for their unique talents and gifts. First, we're going to recognize Smithfield High School. The Smithfield High School theater team recently competed in the Virginia High School League State Theater Championship in Charlottesville. The team performed an early Lin-Manuel Miranda play, 21 Chump Street, and made it their own with seamless transitions and 2 outstanding lead vocals. Theater director Sherilyn Castell prepared the cast of mostly freshmen and sophomores for the challenge. They nailed an outstanding performance and finished as VHSL Class 4 state runner-up. The team finished just a few points behind the 3-time state champion, Jefferson Forest from Bedford County. Prior to this competition, Smithfield advanced through regional and super-regional competition and joined Jamestown High, Dominion High, and Jefferson Forest in the Final 4. I'm going to call up the members. Most are here tonight. Mr. Lombardo has a certificate and a pin for you. And do we want them to try to stand up, or do you want them to?
Mrs. Getz, I would
Ma'am.
just call a few at a time and have them stand out there.
Okay.
Because we have a crowd here tonight.
Yep.
And I would like to keep everyone safe as possible.
Okay. Yep, I can do that.
And it's not the board safe, everyone's safe, okay?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. I can do that. Okay, so we're going to start with Corinne Albers. Just go stand. You want to we'll just do a few.
Mr.
I'm sorry, I
Mr.
didn't see all that
Labarno, will you
stuff.
move that over until we get them up
Hey, what
here?
about if we just put them right here?
They can stand here, because they're
Yeah,
gonna probably get a photo of them. We just need to make them stand right there in the middle bit. Thank you,
We're
ma'am.
gonna put a few of you up here. There you go.
There you go.
That's
Hang
perfect.
tight for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Davenport. Taryn Richardson Davis. Kennedy Freeman. Kylie Hilbert. Christiana Hobbs. Kirsten Holly. All right, so we'll pause. I don't know if there's anybody that wanted to, yeah, yes, right ahead, take some pictures. All right, y'all. Feel free to move if you'd like to. Take pictures. All righty. All right, next we have Samira Johnson. Christiana Jones. Zakariana Jones. Richard Kennedy. Liam McCaughey. Sierra Payne. Sean Pleasance. Peyton Rayner. Brianna McCall. Jocelyn Russell. Siobhan Taylor. Okay, there's only two more, so I'm going to go. Ajay Ward. And Emma Wheatley. And I believe their teacher, their coach, Miss Castell, is not able to be here this evening.
Okay.
Okay.
Pictures?
If you can't see me, then I can't see you. All right, 3, 2, 1. Hold on. All right, guys, great job.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have Seniors of the Month, and our first one from Smithfield High School. The Senior of the Month for January from Smithfield High School is Reginald Johnson. His peers use the term Reggie as an adjective for awesomeness. In engineering explorations, he is the lead designer for the Sean's Tiles project, where students are designing and printing 3D tiles for an elementary student with multiple disabilities. The tiles are multi-sensory ways to communicate for students with multiple disabilities. The communication tiles are used as both a teacher model in communication and a mode of communication for the student. Reggie took on the most difficult prototype design, and he is helping his peers with their tiles. He is a lead producer of the Packer Report, the daily news show broadcast to all Smithfield High School students and staff. Quote, I give Reggie my instructions for the new projects in advance. He does the work, and he gives me feedback on what I can change to make the instructions better for his peers. You may see him as quiet, composed gentleman with one of the world's best smiles, but he is a powerhouse of intellect and Packer pride. And that's from Miss Heather Greer, his engineering teacher. All right, thank you. Oops. All right, next we have Windsor High School. The senior of the month for January from Windsor High School is William Carlson. Will is a most caring, helpful person, and he readily assumes leadership roles in the classroom. He works to make sure that all around him understand, no matter the task. He volunteers to work with a student who is struggling because he likes to learn and wants others to like it too. He compliments as he instructs, which is a testament to his caring nature. Recently, Will was overheard encouraging a struggling student in one of his classes to not give up because, quote, you're smarter than you feel, I know you are, you've got this, you just need to have confidence in yourself. There has been a noticeable improvement in that student's group interactions in the class. Quote, Will genuinely cares about being the best that he can be. He puts in the hard work to get the most out of his educational experience. His sense of humor and personality are refreshing and often cut the serious nature of class, which helps those around him to relax and to learn. And this is from Cassandra Presson, his English teacher. Will is attending. Yep, that's okay. Yep, it's all right. Will will be attending Virginia Tech, where he will study psychology. Congratulations. Great, and that concludes our Wight Achievers.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I would like to thank all of the students, and most of all, thank the parents for preparing them for this day. And this is coming from the board. Thank you very much. And before you leave, the parents and students, I would like to say this too. Wight County, and I'm not just saying this because I'm up here on the board, Wight County is my home. I raised my child in the school system here. We have remarkable people working in our school system. And the last few months, they are showing us how remarkable they are. If you all would just hang in there with us until we can get through these times, because you know, last year this time, the students were home, and a lot of you were pulling your hair out, okay, trying to get through the instructional piece. We're trying to keep the students in school. If you can just bear with us just a little while longer, there is a possibility. I'm not going to say we're not going to shut it down, but we're going to try our best to keep the elementary students in class. They do not move around during the daytime like the middle school and the high schoolers. And if we do have to send students home, it will be for a very short period, so they a little quick vacation, that's it. I just want you all to bear with us, and thank all of you parents. You're wonderful parents because you're sending us wonderful students. Thank you. And at this time, if you have to leave to go and do homework and all, we're going to pause for a second so you can be dismissed. Thank you. I need to drink some water. Haven't had anything to eat today, but I think I had a couple of crackers.
What year are you?
Do you know where you're going to college next year?
I've gotten into Florida i-sle to apply to. I'm still looking here from Virginia Tech because I didn't apply at early decision, but that's where I want to go.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll study
That's great.
public relations and sports media and analytics.
Okay.
So I'm a big sports girl.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, but Tech comes out super late, so I won't hear until late February.
Okay.
But
So what the other schools have you gotten into?
I got into JMU today,
Okay.
and then I got into CMU, and then
Oh, it is delayed.
I'll witness my backup. That's
Okay.
like
There we go.
everything.
I'll bet.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Well, I'm super excited.
So sports analytics, like Ken Palm,
It's more maybe.
like statistics, like base. What is
Yeah, so
sports
it's
analytics?
just like looking at all the data from like sports games and stuff. So like one of the classes they make a March Madness
Okay.
like bracket based off of like all the
Okay.
statistics from the team.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Ken Palm, he does like advanced statistical analysis. So
I'll have to look into that.
KENPOM.com.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Let me write that down 'cause I'll forget. Sweet.
I wish I was when I was in high school, I wanted to do sports analytics. I wish that existed.
I know. It's just
I didn't know that you can do things like that.
you just have to like scour through the majors. They like hide it.
Okay, do we all have our places now that are going to be with us? All right, I'm going to welcome those that are just coming in and joining us. Tonight, we're going to have Windsor Elementary School, on Isle of Wight instructions.
Hi, my name is Aaron White, and in the bowl, the second graders at Windsor Elementary completed a PBL unit that inspired our community to love reading, and we are happy to share it with you tonight. Hi, my name is Ainsley Boyd. Hi, my name is Adam Rogers. Hi, my name is Tristan Bradshaw.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Aubrey. Hi, my name is Elliot Griffin.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Abigail Ray Deemer. Hi, my name is Mason Goodman.
okay.
Each Friday in the month of October, we got a special reading day. The first one, we got to use flashlights to read in the dark. It was really cool to read with our own flashlight. The next Friday, we got to bring in our favorite stuffed animal. During reading time, we got to read to our stuffed animal. One Friday, we were allowed to read on our iPads using an app called Epic. I like to read real books, but sometimes it's fun to read on my iPad, and plus there are millions of books on Epic. We even got to meet a real author. Her name is Bryn Parker. She came and read us her book called My Friend Taylor. Before she came, we used our critical thinking skills to create questions to ask her. Next, we got to choose a book and decorate a pumpkin to match our favorite book character. Here are some pictures of us at Expo where we dressed up to match our book character pumpkins. Throughout the process, we read and wrote about the different story elements in our books. We didn't just do one draft, we wrote it, got feedback, made changes, until we were proud of the final product. My friend Sam wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'll say his slide.
Okay.
We also learned how to summarize the events that happened in our books, like the beginning, middle, and end.
All right.
Finally, it was time for the Big Night Expo. We used our communication skills to talk to the grown-ups and asking them about what we had learned through the process. My friend Emmeline couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to be reading her slide. Also wanted to get the community involved in this. A librarian from the Windsor Public Library came out to our expo to get people signed up for a free library card. This allows more students to have more books at home. This PBL unit has inspired me to become a lifelong reader. Thank you for allowing us to share our learning process with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, these young people from Windsor Elementary, and you all have done so well. The board is going to get up with all of their bones and applaud you, okay? Thank you. We would also like to thank the sponsor, their instructors as well. Thank you. And don't forget to tell your classmates that could not be here tonight, thank them for us as well. Thank you. Oh,
They want those back.
here you go. This is it.
There you go. There you go, sir. Excellent.
I-sle.
You go, number 12.
Okay. All right, next on our agenda, we have requests to speak on the agenda items. Citizens wishing to speak during the citizens' comment section of the meeting can contact Tracy Ruitt, the board clerk, at Truitt at, well, I'll read her email address in case you want to write it out. TREUTT at iwcountyschools.k4.va.us, or by calling 757-357-8841 prior to the meeting. Citizens can also sign up to speak the night of the meeting. Requests to speak during citizen comments must be made before 6 p.m. the night of the meeting. Okay, Mrs. Ruitt, do we have any requests tonight?
Yes, ma'am. In accordance to policy BDDH-E, presentations of information on any subject will be concluded at the discretion of the board. No person will be recognized to speak more than once. 6 citizens scheduled on the agenda will speak. Citizens scheduled on the agenda to speak will be permitted 4 minutes maximum time for their presentations. Delegations will be requested to limit their speakers to 2. Persons speaking are asked to be specific, state the issues for the board's consideration, and attach a copy of your prepared remarks. If you have prepared remarks, they should be given to the board clerk. Please do not approach board members. The school board requests that speakers refrain from referring to specific individuals and that any matter related to specific students or individuals be discussed in a closed meeting. The first one, we have Mr. Herb DeGroff.
Madam Chair, board members, Herb DeGroff,
the Hardy District. Personnel report addendum in closed session motion was to discuss a personnel investigation. Also, Susan Getz's name is on the personnel report addendum to be approved as Deputy Superintendent for the 22-23 school year. I respectfully ask each of you to table this addendum or simply pull her name from the addendum, and my reasons are as follows. Why would you consider Getz for any promotion when it is clear she is incompetent in her current position?
Excuse me, Mr. DeGraff, that sounds like a personnel issue right now because you're calling a staff member's name.
It's not a personal issue. It is about getting
Then say
somebody
personal.
promoted.
I know it's about the promotion.
It's not a closed
but
session
you're
issue. Ask him.
Okay. I was listening to you, and I just want to tell you, if you're going to start saying some personal things about Mrs. Getz, then we need to go. And
I'm going to get into what she hasn't done in her job, which isn't personal. It's a matter of fulfilling your job responsibility. And this should not deduct from my 4 minutes.
It's not.
Madam Chair, I think we should let Mr. DeGraff
Okay.
his 4
Well,
minutes and then.
Mr. DeGraff, I apologize, okay?
No problem,
I'm
Denise.
still in a learning position.
Known you and your mom a long time. Anyway, it's clear she's incompetent in her current position as Executive Director in coordinating curriculum, instruction, and supervising 9 principals. Dr. Thornton has allowed this to happen and in violating his own policy, CBA Qualifications and Duties of the Superintendent, which states he is to supervise principals and assistant superintendents. He violated this policy for the last 7 years, so that's where we are with the 2 of them. The IWCS Board Policy CBA Qualifications and Duties for the Superintendent were revised on 9 September 2021, and it stated his major duties are, as the educational leader of this school division, to supervise the principals and assistant superintendents. I informed the old board, you, Madam Chair, on 9 July 2020 of the many racially discriminating actions of Getz and Thornton over the years with no rebuttal of my facts from either of them or the board at the time. They removed all white students from the alternative school and left all the black students there to finish their placement while the white students went back to their regular school in violation of law and policy. How many black employees have filed complaints against Getz for receiving unsatisfactory evaluations when they never received one before? I know of several, Brown and Edwards. Are there more? White administrators got principalships that didn't qualify for their minimum requirements on the job posting, while there were black educators who met the requirements, but they were denied the jobs, and the list could be considered almost endless. Executive Director Getz should not be considered for this promotion, but be given due process to explain why she has been negligent for over 7 years in meeting her job requirements, which include developing a aligned curriculum for all of IWCS. We know she didn't do that because she told everyone that at the 12 August board meeting when she talked about buying Hampton City Schools aligned curriculum. And Dr. Thornton and her have failed to provide the bare minimum of resources for our teachers, which is to have an aligned curriculum to teach from required by the Virginia Code. Dr. Thornton has already said her executive director position was being eliminated. Dr. Thornton had a portion of the 14 October 21 board meeting video from the IWCS YouTube page deleted, where it showed Ms. Getz and the attorney, Mr. Pack, making fun of another central office employee. Are their actions professional in keeping with what is expected of an executive director and a board attorney that we want to represent our board? My vote is no for Getz's recommended promotion. And the board, you need to ask Dr. Thornton how many more IWCS board videos and public records under FOIA have you had altered or deleted. As for the motion to go to the website to go into closed session, it says to discuss a personnel investigation. Does that meet the specificity required to be in compliance with the subject found in FOIA laws? If it doesn't, why not? On the 14th of March 2019, Mrs. Hewitt talked about a contract that had been awarded without school board approval. The policy mistake were identified and swift action was taken. During the December meeting, and appropriate personnel actions were taken. A FOIA request showed that person to have been Dr. Thornton. Mrs. Carr, in 2020, sent me a letter dated 17 June that stated she wanted to stress when concerns are brought, they will take the appropriate action. Well, will this board investigate Dr. Thornton's and Getz's action wherein IWCS policy and Virginia school law were violated? What will this board do tonight? If Thornton and Getz are not held accountable to policy and law, what does that say about other employees? Do they have to do their jobs by their contracts, policy and law? Students, should they have to behave in school and follow rules?
Thank you, Mr. DeGraff.
I look forward to your answers in writing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair.
Next, we have Mr. Marsh.
Good evening. Appreciate y'all giving me a couple minutes. Madam Chair, I heard what you said a while ago about keeping the schools open. I appreciate that, and I hope we can make that happen. I know that Isle of Wight, like a lot of other schools across the country, are having issues keeping bus drivers, and I know that you've got some smart folks working trying to crack that nut. I have no doubt. As a parent, and I don't think I'm the only one that feels this way, I think the negative aspects of virtual learning are far more, there's far more negative parts of virtual learning, and it's got to be easier to crack this nut about school buses than just closing the schools. So it's tough times. You said it yourself. So sometimes tough times require unprecedented actions. I know we've got a strong community, so let's use it. Use us. Over the past few days, after I got a notification about potential closings due to school buses, that caught my attention immediately. And I know that I'm not alone. So I have wrote down a few suggestions. Hopefully it's something maybe you hadn't thought of. I don't know. If it's something you already thought of, don't take it as an insult. Maybe get something out of it and run with it. Monetary compensation. I mean, listen, we can go make $20 an hour at Walmart warehouse tomorrow. So I don't know what bus drivers make, but maybe we need to look at getting a little bit more. If they're only getting paid for 6 hours a day, maybe they need a little bit more. Let's maybe another stipend. I don't know. Non-monetary compensation. I understand that drivers aren't allowed to carry unsaved leave over for the next year, and they aren't allowed to sell back unused leave. That's already money spent, so why wouldn't we afford them the chance to do that, especially if we're short on drivers? Additional staff support. If you got people back there that are in transportation, maybe they can all figure out how to drive. Let's use what we got. Perhaps teachers and staff could use that as a part-time gig. They're already familiar with the program. Why not use them to drive some buses? And I understand you have to have a CDL to drive a school bus. I don't know the legality of it, but maybe we could consider waiving that for a temporary period of time. Look at our OJT program for how we teach people how to drive, and maybe we could beef that up and waive the CDL requirement for a while. I don't know. Maybe that's not even an option, but something to think about. Advertising. I've seen school buses in different places. A couple weeks ago, I drove to Texas and back, and I saw school buses on the side of the road with big banners saying, "We're hiring." That should be pretty easy and inexpensive. Advertising. A ride-share program. We've got a pretty robust IT department. Maybe we could use our IT facilities and get together with some people in the community, get some heads together and figure out how to, there's parents that are working that are dependent on kids getting on a school bus. And then there's people that don't have to. I'm pretty sure the people that need the school buses can't afford their kids to be at home. You know what I mean? So let's try to put those people together. Like, I've been doing a ride share program, me and my wife and the neighbor across the street, we share the duties for picking up and dropping off our kids. And when I pull into Windsor Elementary, I'm cramming 3 kids in a little Mustang. But we make it happen because that's what we have to do. So, again, sometimes we got the tools right in front of our face. We just have to figure out how to use them. So I hope that helps.
Time.
All the best.
Thank you, Mr. Mershon. Do you mind leaving your notes with our clerk?
I don't mind at all.
Staff to look at them. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
That's all for this
Okay.
section. For this section.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is board members, committee report information. I'm sure some of you probably don't have any reports, other than maybe Mrs. Dow and Mr. Cunningham or Mr. Collick, Mr. Vines. We just assigned our committees at our special meeting last week, and we have not gone forward to have any meetings at this point. But if you have done something with Wight County Schools or anything, you can mention that during this time.
So no, I haven't had my committee meeting, which is on the 23rd of February. It'll be Zoom. I'm over the Special Education Advisory Committee and alternate to the CTE program as well, the advisory committee there. But I did visit Hardy and Westside. I have to say, Westside, OMG, I am so excited for my boys to attend there next year. Mr. Johnson, his energy was like on 10. I was like, oh, I want to come back to school. I mean, he pushed a button for me. The music was playing. I was like, okay, I liked it. And Ms. Denson, she showed me Hardy. It was very fun. So I'll be visiting other schools over the next, I got two days planned for several schools this month and then for March as well. But yeah, I had a good time. Everything was good, yeah.
Tell me about your amazement at Hardy.
No. I'm just gonna say that I'm glad that we decided to build a new Hardy. I had never been in the school before, and yes, that was a much needed. That was much needed. That's all I can say. Yeah, I'm glad they're getting a new school.
She actually shared with the board. She said, "They only have 2 halls." I said, "Yes, the school was built years ago when they only had minimum requirements." Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, at this time, the next item on the agenda is the financial reports.
We skipped 13.
Did I skip 13? Goes 13. I'm sorry. 13.2, that's at the top. Board compensation. Sorry, I didn't see that. It was at the top of the other sheet. At this time, are there any discussions on board compensation?
Yes, I brought to the board's attention at our last meeting that the Wight County School Board had not received a raise within the last 10 years. And we did some research based on other school districts like Virginia Beach, Surrey, and Wight is the lowest paid school board almost in this area. So I'm going to make a motion. I'd like to put a motion to the floor that there's an increase in the salary for Wight County School Board.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor for a salary increase. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that there will be an increase in the Wight County School Board compensation. At this time, we'll vote.
Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Collett. Help me along, okay? I remember. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Can I say something before your discussion?
Yes.
I'm just asked, could you clarify the motion to the dollar amount?
Okay, we'll do that. Mr.
We had some discussion, and the Board of Supervisors of Wight County currently receive about $1,000 per month, and we would like to be in line with the Board of Supervisors in Wight County School Board.
I would,
Can I start?
yeah. Well, go ahead, Mr. Collett.
But when I decided to run for this, and I got elected, one of the first things I did was mention to the school board clerk that I didn't want to get paid. I don't need the money, and I really didn't want it. And then we talked offline with a couple of you individually, and you explained why we need a little bit more. And I said, okay, possibly if you need a unanimous vote for about $100 a month more, I could do that. At that time, we were under the understanding during conversations we were getting $4,000 a month. We found out earlier this week.
Correction, not $4,000 a month.
Excuse me, thank you. A year. Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, it's not a month. No, it's a year.
But since then, we found out we're getting $5,000 a year, and the chair is getting $6,000. So I personally will not support a pay raise because I consider this my civic duty. But I'm not going to tell you not to proceed.
Mr. Cunningham?
I would like to hear from our attorney if we can actually, I know, looking at the paperwork, that we will not get the pay raise until next year.
Right.
So what we vote on this year
Will benefit the people in the future.
will not take effect until next year. And I'm sure some of the citizens are wondering, are we trying to just get a pay raise
No.
for, this year? And I can tell you, the amount of, y'all really don't know the amount of work that goes on. You see what goes on here on the nights of our meetings, but we actually do a lot of work during the week. And some of the members up here have jobs. I'm retired, so I have more time to do it. But there's work to do at night and during the week. We have special meetings that we have, sometimes between two, which you don't hear about that because it's FOIA says if we have over 2 people in a meeting, then it has to be announced. But if it's 2 or less, we don't have to announce it. We have meetings all the time. We're answering emails. Some of you have contacted us. Understand, some of us haven't gotten back to you as quickly as possible, but that's not intentional. We have a lot of things going on that you don't know about. So you voted for us to get in these positions. I know some come up for votes this year in November, but we are honestly very busy trying to do what you want us to do. And that's one thing for my district, the Hardy District, which I believe is District 3 now with the reorganization and everything. But the thing is, what you want, you need to get in touch with us via emails, which everybody should be able to find our emails. If you don't have my email and you're from the Hardy District, I'll give it to you tonight. But contact us and let us know. When I ran for this position, the big thing was I represent you. I'm not representing Mike Cunningham, what Mike Cunningham wants. It's not about what I want, it's what you want. So if you want something, contact us. But this burns up a lot of our time away from family. I mean, I got family asking me to do things, I can't do it. Because I owe you, for the next 4 years at least, I owe you my time. You elected me, I'm gonna give you my time to the best of my ability. Now, the question I have for Pat, am I right? We don't, if we do get the raise, whatever percentage or whatever we come up with, we don't get it until next year anyway.
Well, the law was recently changed, so it's less clear. How the law was previously written was you have to make a vote before this December in effect for next year. Now, all the law states is that a local school board representing a county may establish a salary increase prior to July 1 of any year in which members are to be elected or appointed, or if such school board is elected, such as you all, for staggered terms prior to July 1 of any year in which at least 40% of such board members are up for election. So in this case, there are 2 seats up for election, and while the law is not clear, there's nothing for the school board to prevent that, for saying that, look, when we vote on this, the salary will not take effect until next year after the election.
Okay. Any more clarification?
No.
So we have a motion on the floor, but, okay, Mr. Cunningham.
Okay, the last thing I want to say, I think we need to come up with a percentage, a recommended percentage, and just, instead of just saying we want to get, whatever amount close to the Board of Supervisors, I think we need to come up with a percentage. So I really don't believe we have had enough discussion tonight or have really looked into it tonight we can vote for a raise, but we shouldn't vote on the amount of the raise until we have more discussion.
And my question would be to the board is, when was the last time the board had a raise?
Madam Chair, you would know.
Well, this is my second term. I cannot answer that question because when I came on board the first time, what I earned, I guess a month ago was the same thing, you know. So,
So my question, and so your term, you've served more than 6 years?
this is my sixth. And I'm starting my 7th year. Mhm.
7th year.
Madam Chair, I would move that we table this pending, asking the clerk if she
Yes.
would do the research for us on this.
I agree with you.
And then bring it back to the floor at another meeting.
Okay, I'll second Mr. Cook.
Well, the thing is, there's already a motion on the
Have a
floor,
motion
so
on the floor.
I think we ought, I mean.
We can vote on the motion and then we
Well,
can-
no, you don't, I mean, certainly, Mr. Vines, if he would like, he can withdraw the
You want to
motion.
withdraw the motion? Mr. Vines, would you like to withdraw your motion? And we table it and come back next month? And once we come back with the figure amount?
Yes, I withdraw my motion.
Okay, the motion has been withdrawn. And you've heard Mr. Colick said he would like to table it until next month, and we can come back and take action at that time if
That
needed.
work for you, Tracy?
So we have a motion by Mr.
No, he's just.
He's withdrawn it.
He's withdrawn his
No
motion.
need for a motion.
So,
If there is no need for a motion, he's just making a recommendation that we'll table it until next month. Okay? And Clerk Ruitt, if you would possibly, if you could find the information, how far back we need to go as far as a raise? And if you can't find it, then we know it's really far back, okay? All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is financial reports.
Oh,
Oh,
hold
I'm
on. Let me get Mr. Cunningham, you're correct. It says no salary increase may become effective during incumbent member's term of office, okay?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I thought.
So if we do vote on it, the earliest we'll be able to get it would be January of 2023.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay, we're ready?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thornton. Just want to present to you the financials closing out the month of December. So in addition, with your packet, we did have a couple.
Excuse me a second,
Yes.
Mr. Kipnis. Going forward, when you come up to make your reports to us, if you don't mind stating your name and and as well as your position, because we have people out virtually, and some people don't know you. Could be some people in our audience that's sitting here may not know who you are, okay?
Very good.
Thank you.
Good suggestion. I'm Steve Kepnes. I'm your Executive Director of Budget and Finance. I'll present the financial reports. There were the standard 4 reports in your packet. One was your large ticket items, those that exceeded $30,000. So we did get long overdue kitchen equipment for the various kitchens throughout the division. And that was funded by your food service budget, so that did not come out of your operating budget. And we installed much of those pieces of equipment during the summer months. And then secondly, you'll see we did install from Playcore, Wisconsin, a playground for special education students. And those are your 2 large ticket items. Are there any questions on the check register that was in your packet? In your financials, closing out again December, what we always try to present is how much have we spent of the budget so far. And now that it's January, closing out December, we are at just under 52%. So halfway through the year, it's about 50%, so that makes sense to me, but that's an important number because we have to follow that, and certainly we can't overspend, and we want to make sure that we're on track in terms of a cash flow. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a good number. Any other questions on the summary of your financial reports? It speaks to your food service account, it speaks to your health insurance fund, and your other funds that are throughout your budget. So that's all I have for financials, if there's no other questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kipnis? Thank you. Okay. Next, we have foods. Did you do the food? You're going to do the food? Okay, we have food service budget amendment 21 through 22.
Very good. Last year, we did something similar to this. I'm recommending an amendment to your food service budget. And I think it's important to understand this doesn't cost the taxpayer. So let me speak to the food service budget. The food service budget is a standalone budget that operates based on sales. So the students are charged, we bring that in as revenue, and over the year's time, we collect that and we spend that. It's run like a business. During COVID, last year, and then they approved it into this year as well, the federal government said that they would pay for lunches for all students, not just low-income students. In the past, it's been low-income students. Now it's all students. So we have many more, call it sales, even though the students aren't paying for it. We still have to count the lunches. We still have to submit a report on a monthly basis to the federal government, and then we get reimbursed. Those reimbursements are significantly higher than they would have been in a normal year. So we're getting much more revenue. We're also spending more money because we're buying more food. So both sides of the budget are increasing. So we looked at the budget, we re-projected with the new average reimbursements that we're receiving, and I'm recommending to Dr. Thornton and then bringing to you an amendment of an increase just over $2.1 million on your revenue side and the same amount on your spending side. And that should then balance the year so that we can get through the year. It'll readjust your revenues and then also give a more solid number for those expenditures.
Okay, members, you have heard the report coming from Mr. Kipnis. This is an action item.
So the motion would be to provide an amendment of $2,122,797. Madam Chair, I
Okay.
motion
We
that
have
we add an amendment of $2,122,797 to make a revised budget for under the food service budget category of $4,200,000.
Second.
All right, you have a motion on the floor. Mr. Collick. Mr. Cunningham, will you show him where the motion is? Because I want to get it right, because what you said something about revised and some other words, and I want to.
It's right here.
Yeah,
and
it's
you
right here.
Just read that. Just read that motion. So
Oh.
we know we have it correct.
Oh,
Get
the
Mr.
amount?
Collick to do it.
Okay, a motion to approve an amendment to the 2021-2022 food service budget and authorize the superintendent to request appropriations from the Board of Supervisors in the amount of $2,122,797.
Okay, now we have a second, Mr.
And I second that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. At this time, we will vote on the motion. Before we vote, any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote at this time. Okay, the vote passed. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Kipnis. Next item on the agenda, we have support services. And the first item on support services, transportation. Good evening, Mr. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Thornton, members of the board. My name is Todd Christensen, and I'm the Interim Director of Operations. So we'll start off with the transportation report and a few pieces of good news. We did recently have a newly purchased special education van that arrived. That van was specifically designed wheelchair accessible so that it could be utilized as part of the community-based instruction for students and young adults with disabilities. It's part of the adult transitional program, so it's really allowed that program to expand, and so that's a piece of good news, which we're always looking for in transportation, especially these days. We do also have several, so when a driver gets hired, it begins a process, the slow wheels, excuse the pun, begin to turn, and so it's not just you hire them day one, they're on the road. We did have a few drivers who recently have completed their training. We were able to get them on the road, take over some routes, in theory, to lessen the burden of those buses and have fewer students on the runs and less time. The cold reality, especially over the past few weeks, as you all know, have been driver shortages. There's been call outs that have really impacted the way that those operations have run. So while it's great news that we're getting more drivers in, we're getting that process going, we are having the driver call out that's impacting operations. And that brings me to the proposal that I would like to bring forth to you all tonight. And this proposal actually came out of a meeting that I had with a number of drivers, and the discussion turned to getting drivers compensated based off their years of experience. And the conversation was really geared towards next year's budget. And one of the drivers, Bernard Jones, he spoke up and he said, while we appreciate that you value us and are looking to make things, get us those years of experience based into our compensation for next year, what about this year? Like, what can you do for us now? Because things are urgent now. We're feeling the heat now. What can you do for us now? And a light went off my head, and he was right. And so what I did is I went back and crunched some numbers and did some thinking about what can we do now to make sure that our drivers do feel heard, supported, and compensated. And so what I'm proposing is that we change our base pay for drivers to $20 an hour. And what I'm further proposing is that we take those years of experience, some drivers have up to 47 years of experience in this county, and take that base pay and adjust it off of the year's experience as well. It's $350 for each year of experience. So if you plug those numbers in, and I've presented to you two different sets of numbers that you should have in front of you. I'm proposing that this change take effect February 1st. And I've listed the numbers as to what that cost would be for our drivers. I know that's an aggressive timeline, so I've also included what it would cost for us to make that change effective March the 1st. In addition to increasing driver pay, I'm also proposing an increase to driver aid pay to go to $15 an hour. And those numbers are in front of you as well. So first off, before I go any further, I do want to just thank Mr. Jones. I spoke to him earlier today. I hope he's able to watch tonight, and thank him for advocating for himself and for his drivers, because honestly, if he hadn't raised his hand there, this may not have ever happened. So I want to thank him for advocating for the drivers. The other piece of good news here is that we're looking at retention and retainment and attracting drivers from other counties. That's what this is all about. And because of that, we were contacting VDOE, and we may be able to utilize ESSER funds because of the nature of the request that we're making here. So that's the other good news in terms of a source of funding for the cost that increase that you see in front of you. So I'm happy to answer any questions or elaborate on my proposal in any way that I can help.
Madam Chair, I do have a question.
Okay. Mr. Collick first, Mr. Cunningham, anyone else? And then Mr. Vines.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Does this amount of money, does it include the billets, including the unfilled positions that we have? So if we were to bring on 10 more drivers, say, would this bottom number change at all?
Yeah,
or is this just current drivers?
It's an excellent question. So I did take into account the vacancies that we have. I base this number off of an average years of experience of the drivers that we have in the county, and that's where I came to that number. So yes, they were accounted for.
Okay,
it is an approximation, because if we get drivers coming in that have 50 years of experience or 1 year of experience, there's some variance there, but I used an average of what we have.
Okay, so hiring, it's not going to affect that very much?
No, not one way or
Okay.
the other. No, sir.
Very good, thank you.
I have I'm sorry, Mr. Cunningham, and I'll ask my question after Mr. Vines.
Okay, well, my question is, and it goes back to finance. Do we have enough money to fund this for the rest of the year? That's the big question. I mean, the numbers to me look good, but do we have enough money to finance that?
Mr. Kempness, would you like to come forward? and address that?
And, I mean,
I could address
Okay,
that.
Dr.
Okay.
Thornton said he would do it.
So, when Mr. Christensen came forward with this proposal, I did meet with Mr. Kepnes. We looked at this year's operating budget. Is that a possibility? We also had Mr. Lombardo contact VDOE to see, is this something that we can use our ESSER funds with for the difference of their pay this year? And the answer was yes. So we would have to amend the ESSER grant to do so. And then, because we're funded by category, we'd also have to ask the Board of Supervisors to amend the category, because even the grants are funded by category. So we do have, long answer, we do have the money in ESSER funds, and then any increase ongoing would have to be funded with next year's budget. And I know I've shared with some of you, the budget looks good for next year from the state. I have been going to the state either as a finance person or a superintendent for 22 years, to the conferences at VASBO and to the legislators. And we had a financial consultant who forecast for the state and for our organizations. I have never heard anyone so positive that the forecast of the current governor has forecasted very low, at like a 4%, and we're in double digits. We were in double digits last year. They didn't spend all of last year's money, and there's no end in sight. We also had a state senator and a state delegate, I've never heard that come out of anyone's mouth ever, that we have buckets of money to take care of public education, sheriff's department, a variety of things. Now, they have to go through all of those things. So from the governor's budget, I'm very optimistic that we can fund this moving forward.
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Vines?
My question was answered by Dr. Thornton.
Oh, okay. All right. My question was answered as well. And Board, you've heard recommendations coming from Mr. Christensen. Did I do that correctly, your name?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this proposal that Mr. Christians has presented to the board tonight.
Okay.
Which one?
All right. You want me to?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh, well, hold up. I wrote it down. You wrote
yeah, I'm gonna read it.
the top one first.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bus drivers and car drivers and bus aid raise as presented starting February 1, 2022. Base pay at $20 an hour and aid pay at $15 per hour, $350 for years of service, beginning February 1, 2022.
Okay. That's a separate. Do we hear?
Oh, you already seconded it? Or,
No, she's
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Cunningham, seconded.
And we'll need a verbal, so Mr. Vines,
Mm-hmm.
I need to, yes, say it out loud, we don't have it online.
Okay. So I make a motion that,
I just
No,
need
no,
a
no.
vote.
A verbal.
oh, yeah,
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 verbal.
yeah,
What do you-
yeah,
how-
yeah,
how do you
yeah,
vote?
yeah.
Let me ask
Yeah.
this question, because we also have to ask the Board of Supervisors for permission.
Yes.
Is that a separate motion?
You could add it to the same motion.
Can we add it to the same motion, Attorney?
And you can say,
Okay.
and authorize the superintendent
All
to
right.
request appropriation.
Are you okay if I add
Go ahead,
that
add
part?
add that part.
I would like to add, and I'll read the whole motion again so we won't be confused. Motion to approve the bus drivers, car drivers, and bus aid raises as presented starting February 1st, 2022. The base pay, $20, and $350 a year for experiences. And to request approval of a categorical change in ESSER, ESSER 3 funds from the Board of Supervisors to pay for the increase. Now, this is January, so the Board of Supervisors will have a meeting, because I would like for them to approve this prior to we put it in, implement this. So would that be enough time? Do you think, or do you want to,
So
do
if
we want
it
to?
doesn't get approved, by the Board of Supervisors, we would not implement it. And if it gets approved after that February 1 timeline, we can go back and
Okay.
pay them.
That's fine.
Okay.
Starting February 1.
Okay, well, that's fine then.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion on the floor.
So I need a verbal, so I still have the first and the second. Are
Okay,
you ready?
right,
So
correct.
Mr. Vines,
Yay.
Ms. Dial. Yay. Ms. Tynes.
Yay,
Mr. Cunningham.
Yay.
Mr. Collins.
Yay.
Thank you.
5 vote. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Christensen.
Thank you. This one's actually me as well. So the support services and operations report is in front of you. A few items that I did want to highlight on the topic of transportation. The transportation annex it's on the ground. So that's good news. The building is currently being equipped with plumbing and electric. Once that electric component is hooked up, that'll really allow things to kind of take the next step in terms of getting this building to be move-in ready. Dominion was on site. Oh, thank you. Dominion was on site just this past week, so they are currently working on that. Sorry. And the goal is to, the internet and wiring process has also begun. I'm working with Mr. Cooprider on that. And the goal is to have that building ready for occupancy here in the next few months. The West Side Drainage Project. So anyone who has ever been to the back of West Side during a heavy rain understands what we are contending with back there. It is a site that has been in an area that needed addressing here for a little bit, and we were able to finally get that project underway, which is great news. They're back there digging right now. I had a meeting with the gentleman on site, and things are progressing nicely. It's scheduled to be completed in approximately 10 days. That's weather dependent, but it shouldn't be a hugely long project. And what that's going to allow for is it's going to allow for better drainage in general behind the building. It's especially important now because of the setup that West Side has with the buses going around the back. Those students are coming out at the end of the day, and it's a very heavily trafficked area these days, more than it has been in previous years. So getting that drainage working correct is going to be a huge step in the right direction for that building. And lastly, we do have a new nursing room that is beginning to be installed at Smithfield High School. It's part of expansion of the CTE program. The work is slated to begin next week. They actually did some preliminary work there this week, just clearing out the space and getting it ready. What they're going to do is they're going to attach it to the current nursing area. It's adjacent to that nursing area, and kind of expand it into one big area there for the nursing part of the CTE. And it's part of a patient care program that is slated to begin at the 2023 to 2024 school year. So that's exciting news as well. Just beginning, but exciting news. And the last thing I did want to give you an update on, it's not on the slides that I presented, but I did want to give you all an update as to the current situation at the Smithfield High School gymnasium and the HVAC. So unfortunately, the heat is out at the gym. And we've been working with SSC, our maintenance and facilities vendor, to identify what is going on there and how we can get it fixed. We're talking classes, games, practices. The gym's a very heavily trafficked area. And so what they have found out is that it is a motor that has gone. And that motor, while it's under factory warranty, is a 3 to 4 week lead time due to supply chain concerns before we're going to see that thing. And so middle of winter, 3 to 4 weeks, no good. But what we are looking at are alternative solutions for the intermediary to try to come in and get industrial heaters, any kind of temporary fix that we can implement while those parts are on order. And Mr. Lombardo is going to speak a little bit more to those efforts.
Thanks, Todd. So, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thornton, Mike Lombardo, I serve as Assistant Superintendent. Just to provide a little more information, I will tell you that as it relates to the heating issue at the Smithfield High School gym, Principal Brian Thrift and also our athletic director, Matt Moore, they're working very closely with Mr. Christensen and also with our partner SSC regarding those necessary repairs that he spoke to, but also that timeline. So they're in close communication. They're also working with them in regards to the implementation and looking into the possibility of some industrial portable heaters and how feasible that will be. So that's in process right now. The programs that are impacted right now, you basically have your physical education classes during the day. We have our wrestling program who uses that facility, and also both the boys and girls basketball programs. So the plan that they have right now for physical education classes, now of course depending on outside temperatures and the temperature in the gym, consider that. Smithfield High School will use the gym if it's appropriate, if the temperatures are suitable. And if needed, they plan to use the field house weight room for physical education, the fitness room that we have, which was a great redesign just a couple of years ago, and also commons areas. So they've already had that plan in motion and will continue to use that for physical education class. We feel very good about being able to serve the kids in those classes. For the wrestling and basketball programs, Mr. Thrift and Mr. Moore, they're planning to continue to use the Smithfield High School gym if temperatures allow, but they're also going to use the Smithfield Middle School gym for practices for all three of the programs. They said that's very easy to do. They have a plan in place. They can schedule that without a problem. I got off the phone with them actually, again, not long before this meeting. And then also, they have the ability to utilize the Georgie Tyler Middle School gym for basketball games, as that is a regulation high school gym. And wrestling matches, if they need to be adjusted as far as their location, those are going to take place in the Smithfield Middle School gym as well. They have a plan ready to implement with that if needed. So as far as communication, because as we know, that's one of the biggest things anytime we have a situation like this, I will tell you that our athletic director, Matt Moore at Smithfield High School, he's already been in contact. Well before we're speaking now, he's been in contact with other school divisions, athletic directors, briefing them on the situation, also letting them know well in advance if there's any adjustments necessary to location. And also, Mr. Thrift and Mr. Moore have been communicating with each of the programs, and they plan to send a very detailed message regarding each program and the plan. And of course, something like this, there will be ongoing communications based on temperatures and what they need to do to accommodate each. Sounds like they have a very good plan and also a plan for communication. So I did want to share that with the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So with the support services piece, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you all may have at this time.
Questions? Are there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Christensen.
Yeah, what was the turnaround time for the ordering of that motor again?
Yeah, so the motor is a 3 to 4 week lead time is what they've given us. So we're in communication with that company to get the specifics of the warranty, because our understanding is that it is under factory warranty. But you know, in the meantime, we've got to kind of figure out an intermediary plan.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Security Equipment Grant Awards, Mr. Cooperrider.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board. Eric Cooperrider. I am the Director of Information Technology in our school division. So this is just a quick update I had brought before the board a few months back in regards to an equipment grant that we had submitted for with VDOE. We've won it several times in the past. This year was no different. We did submit for continuing installation of badge readers within Smithfield High School and Windsor High School. This is to replace your standard lock that's on an interior door with a Bluetooth lock. We've had them in place now for about a year, and so far we've only had 2 issues with them really, and the teachers seem to really like them as far as they don't need to have a key. They just walk around with their badge and they get in where they can get in. We also submitted to begin this same work at Smithfield Middle School. as well as 2 exterior doors at Windsor Elementary School. Basically, that just comes from principals all year long. Every year send me, hey, next time you do anything, can we get a new door? And this year we happen to win Windsor L. So we requested $231,200 for a total project cost of $289,000 because the school division needs to present a 25% match for whatever we win, and we did win the full award.
Okay.
So there is a motion on the table so that we can proceed with obtaining allocation of that if there are no questions.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve an amendment to the 2021-22 technology budget and authorize the superintendent to request appropriations from the Board of Supervisors in the amount of $231,200.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, we will vote.
$231,200 is the amount of the increase because the other is already in my operating budget.
Motion passes. Thank you very much, Mr. Cooperrider.
Yes, ma'am.
And the next item we have is auction items.
Good evening again. So the items up for auction are all coming from the Smithfield High School and Windsor High School, the CTE Welding Lab. I say both schools because they're both participate, but it's located at Smithfield High School. And so what is happening is a couple of different things. These items are either broken and too expensive to fix, or they're just taking up too much space. And the good news is that these items are going to be making way for some new items that are currently, there's a donation process that's going on. And so it's going to be sort of an out with the old, in with the new. And so that's why these items are being requested to be put up for auction.
So what you're telling us, it's not going to be any money coming out of our budget for any of this?
My understanding is that it is all going to be done with donated items from the Bear, the company that we do partner with.
All right. So did you hear the report? All right.
Make a motion to approve the welding equipment presented to be placed up for auction.
Second.
It has been, we have a motion, and we have a second from Mr. Colick. All right, or any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote. Motion passes. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Christensen.
Thank you again.
Okay. We have report from, excuse me. You ready?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thornton, Mike Lombardo, Assistant Superintendent. So this evening, I'm happy to provide an update regarding our new strategic plan process. And so what we're going to do is we'll start with a brief video, and we've done that, as you know, going back, I believe now this is the 4th meeting in a row that we've done that. And through the great work of Mr. David Elliott, we have a wonderful video that'll capture our last strategic plan steering committee meeting, and then I'll come right back up just to provide a little bit of some more brief information on our next steps and timeline.
Okay.
We've got important work to do today, and you'll see what we're about to do is very important because we're now in that phase where we're not just visioning anymore. We are designing, and what we design will constitute the DNA of this school district's trajectory for the next 6 years.
Okay, so in this activity, we're creating all of our core values and statements, and we did it in individual groups, and now we're going around to each other's groups and seeing what we like and what we want to include all together in our value values and statements for Wight County Schools. We took a lot from our focus documents from the last strategic plan. Those are kind of all compiled together, and we wanted to really separate it out to make sure that we're getting those really key points and they're not all lost in a bunch of jargon.
We've seen collaboration through a few posters, we've seen communication.
The rigor, the real work, the authentic, the practical application, that has just been common throughout everything.
Career pathways, career life ready. There's keywords from our documents that have been found in just about every document we've seen so far.
I know we talked a lot about how the focus documents were unique to all of Wight, and they're not in a lot of school systems, and I think that they really made it easy to see all the values that all of Wight holds, because they're really reflected in those documents, and I think it's made it a lot easier to build upon that.
Our focus documents really seem to hover around all of the goals, the academic excellence, student well-being, HR efforts, and maybe focus documents weren't so much of getting these teachers in, but for keeping our teachers and making sure that the teachers are prepared and showing that we are invested in the teachers. And then also the focus documents do hover around the learning environment as well.
I thought it was really eye-opening, the quadrants, because if you looked at the top 2 quadrants, I think we're doing a really good job putting the students first. And there were so many things we're providing for the students, and then it was very eye-opening, some of the quadrants that didn't have as much, that if we want to continue to have that impact on the students, there are other areas where we really need to focus. And if we focus in those areas, it's going to follow back up on the lifelong, that we want to prepare these students for life, not just high school graduation.
I now want you to document the initiatives that Isle of Wight does not have, but needs. What are you going to put on your grid that more purposefully balances the supports available for these 4 emerging focus areas? Every organization has a mission and vision. Oh, that's all fine and good. But without values or core beliefs, those mission statements, those vision statements have no rocket fuel. There's no how there.
The values and beliefs do need to be a group decision. It cannot be like, these are my values and beliefs and this is how it's going to be. It should be centered around the entire community or organization.
As leaders, that we can sometimes, without an organization's values, that we then would put our own values in, and we want to make sure that it's the organization's values and not our personal values that are being represented in the organization.
Since we're talking multi-year, have to be fluid, because it's going to change during that time. It's not going to be set in concrete.
Look back on how much has changed in the last 5 years. If we assume the same rate of change for the next 5 years, we better not be designing values for today.
We have these great documents, but some of these things are lost. I see authentic learning and student-centered. If I walk through our schools today, is that our #1 focus? I still think we are geared towards our SOLs and these other things. So if this is our true values and beliefs, I think this activity is strong. How do we get there? This would focus us every day in our buildings. How do we get there? And remember, we're trying to get there. I think that's powerful.
I was floored as to how much we're doing, right? Like sometimes we don't think about how much we're actually doing, and it was really nice to see like it all laid out. It gives me hope that we can do more. Just seeing back, sometimes you got to see where you started, and I think it's good for us to see where we started, see what we're doing now, and then that gives us hope for what we can do in the next 5 years.
I think today really gave insight as to like how we make our plan and how important our values are in creating the foundation for what students are going to be experiencing for the next couple of years.
Honestly, just as a parent of these students in Wight County, it's just inspiring to see, first of all, that the administrators care. Second of all, the passion that all the teachers have for their students, and then progress forward. And so that's just very encouraging and inspiring to keep my children here in Wight. And then, as parents talk, the word gets out on the great work that the county is doing.
Thinking about just how we all kind of came together, if we could get our community, like thinking of all of our stakeholders out there, if we could communicate and share what we're doing and try to get everyone to come together, we could do amazing things for Isle of Wight and for our students. And frankly, I feel like they deserve that.
Look at the results on these walls. This is more than just color. There are powerful, powerful ideas on these papers. It is a joy to work with a community that cares as much about its schools as you all. We are expanding the window of dialogue in this community by bringing in work groups. In the new year, we will also go out to community and invite family members, caregivers, taxpayers, local citizens the opportunity to see the emerging work that we have and to have a dialogue with us. And so this net is going to continue to be broadcast wider and wider. And then later in the winter and into the very early spring, we'll tie it all together into a strategic plan. It won't just be something that Lori and I cooked up or that your district worked on behind the scenes. This will be something that is authentically co-created across your community. We will come together, date to be determined, in February. And when we come together again, oh my goodness, will we have something to preview. Your job as a steering committee could not have been done better. You have created the structures and the urgency for dozens and hundreds of others to contribute to the details of this community strategic plan.
So just a little bit more information, especially regarding next steps, and that came out a little bit there in the video, I believe. I will say, obviously, we saw Neely as part of that strategic plan steering together. Ms. Tynes and also Mr. Cunningham have been working very hard and been part of that process all the way through. So just to recap a little bit and take you just a bit down the timeline. So at that December 14th Strategic Plan Committee session, basically what the committee did was we narrowed and refined, consolidated all of that information into four broad goals. And so those four broad goals emerged as academic excellence, retainment and recruitment of staff. You saw student well-being / family engagement, and also learning environment / operations. So those are those four broad goals that the steering committee refined that work to. So now, beginning in February, so very quickly, we'll switch gears to the next phase, which is stakeholder work groups. So work groups will consist of stakeholders, parents, students, teachers, administrators, and also business partners. We have university partners and some others. We'll be tasked with brainstorming performance objectives and strategies. So these are sort of your objectives and your action steps, some real specific strategies that will be necessary under each of those four broad goals. So each of those four work groups will be facilitated by a member from the steering committee. And I wanted to give you a little bit of information on that. So those four work groups will have Shantae Denson, who is the Hardy Elementary School principal. She's going to facilitate the academic excellence work group. Susan Getz, Executive Director of Leadership, she will facilitate the family engagement / student wellness work group. I will actually facilitate the learning environment / operations work group. And Laura Sullivan, Windsor High School principal, will be facilitating the recruitment and retainment of staff work group. So I will also note that all of the facilitators that I just mentioned were trained by Amos Vodchuk, who you saw there on the video. He is the president of Advanced Learning Partnerships Consulting. We were all trained by Amos on this next process and facilitating these work groups on December 14th. So we're real excited to be in a position to help the work groups moving forward. I will also let you know that the invitations for the work groups are going to go out next week to those participants. And we'll probably then have at least 2 work group sessions in February. But we'll obviously be bringing more information back to the board next month on this process, each step of the way. Just to summarize, next steps in the timeline, we'll complete the work group sessions, we'll complete the work group sessions of generating performance objectives and strategies. That'll be hopefully by the end of February, very beginning of March. We're going to conduct community forums in March and maybe a little bit into April. We'll reconvene the steering committee at that time for some final adjustments based on work groups and the community forum feedback. And the goal then would be to have the first read of the strategic plan to the school board, and that would be at the May school board meeting. And then we would have that come back as an action item at the June school board meeting, which would put us in a great position to move into the summer ready with a new plan and to be in a position to start the new school year with our new plan in place. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Lombardo? Thank you, sir. Next, we will have updates on Hardy Elementary, and following that, the water tower at Hardy Elementary.
Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Thornton, I have the pleasure to go over the new Hardy Elementary School project update. One face that you see in the audience at this time is going to be Mr. Chris Bilbo. He is the project manager for the actual project from Heartland. He's putting everything actually together. So you'll see his face time and time again here. Any of the very, very hard questions, I'm actually going to call him up to let him actually go through it. Right, let me. Update.
I don't know anything about that, Chris.
It's on the agenda.
You want me to pull up the webpage? Give me a second.
Okay. It's on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, and while we're pulling up the actual agenda, one thing I wanted to actually point out was that construction is going to start very, very soon. Construction will be starting next week. Now, when I say construction is starting next week, we're looking at minor land work, land disturbance. That's what we're going to actually focus on for next week. Some of the things that have actually transpired thus far was pre-meetings and different things of that nature, just getting all the stakeholders together on one page. Some of the stakeholders could include some of the actual county employees that are out there helping, assisting, making sure that we're getting everything dressed. Okay, no problem.
I see no attachment.
All right.
I apologize. I don't see it.
All right. Now, with the new Hardy project, I'm just going to go over here. Now, the project scope, a lot of us already know, but I just want to go over for the general public. It is a construction of a new two-story elementary school building, totaling approximately 108,162 square feet, much bigger than the old foot space we had there. Now, what we were talking about earlier with the land disturbance, it's including site development, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, interior building out, and the finishes. So all of that is actually included with the construction. Thank you there. Okay, what are we doing? All right. Now, also what is included in the actual construction is the demolition of the existing building will occur after construction of the new facility is complete. And we must understand that it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen until construction of the new building is actually over. Now, remaining site work will also be completed at that time. One thing I wanted to actually point out that the student population for the school is 885 students. Now, it was 885 students plus faculty of 100. So we're looking at 985 personnel in the school at all times. Next, I want to touch bases with you concerning the permit status. As you know, when you start off a project, permits. All right, well, MSA has submitted an early site work package for the erosion and control earthwork. At this time, when this actual presentation was put together, this was in the process. Now it's already have been completed, so that has already been approved. Number two, MSA has submitted the third site plan package for county review. This is still under review at this time, but we look forward to having this actually approved very soon. Now, once the above is approved, RRMM will submit the complete building package to Wight County Building Permitting for final review and receive the building permit. That's when we actually can proceed. We're on the actual footsteps of that occurring for us to actually be able to move on. Now, one thing that has, I apologize, I want to go back. One thing that has been actually approved is the VSMP application, and that is the Virginia Storm Management Plan. So what this means is next week we can actually go out and start putting up the silk fence around the perimeter and actually bringing out the construction trailer. So once again, we're in the process of moving forward. Next is the construction status. On 12/14/2021, a pre-construction meeting was held at the New Hardy site. Now, this is something that's going to occur once a month, twice a month, depending upon how much information is going on and how much construction is actually going on during that time. Now, also, I wanted to make sure that I point out once again, MBCon and Heartland is planning on to mobilize on site in the middle of January, which we are predicting for next week. I will make sure that I get out the exact dates and times with you. Me and Mr. Bilbo was talking in the back. Another thing that we're going to do is actually make sure that we send that information out to the Board of Supervisors and all schools to ensure that the surrounding community knows what's going on. Because as you know, once construction and everything starts to go on, there's going to be a lot of questions. We want to make sure that we keep the community well informed. And finally, I wanted to touch bases with you concerning about the change order for the water tower. All right. As you know, there's a new water tower that's actually being built on the site. This water tower will ensure that the school has everything that it actually needs from water consumption and everything else of that nature. Now, this will be a 500,000-gallon elevated water tank. Now, on December 10th, the actual Board of Supervisors approved this. So now it has come to us to actually approve a change order for our initial GMP. All right, so what we voted on before, what the board actually voted on before was $36,868,639 for the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price for actually New Hardy. With the addition of the water tower, it would be an additional $2,843,347. That is the addition of the water tower, which brings the new GMP, the new guaranteed maximum price, $39,711,986. So that is the actual changes for that. What we're going to find next is, are there any questions concerning this before I actually move on to the action item? Any questions concerning New Hardy, information that you wanted to see next month, anything of that nature? All right, thank you. Let's exit out of this, Eric. Don't do it, okay. Absolutely. I think this is the action item. Okay, I'm just gonna click it.
You don't have to click it.
Okay, all right. Next, what we have is the action item. What I just went over was the actual change order for the project. So what you have in front of you, Madam Chair, is the action item to approve the change order for the water tower.
Did you hear the report coming from Mr. Coleman? Are there any questions before we act on this action?
I make a motion to approve the New Hardy water tank change order of $2,843,347, increasing the original guarantee maximum price of $36,868,639 to the new guaranteed maximum price of $39,711,986.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Okay.
Right.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And I do apologize, Madam Chair, for the audience. My name is Christopher Coleman. I'm the Executive Director of Support Services and Operations.
And before Mr. Coleman leaves the podium, Mr. Coleman got a new title over the holiday. He is Dr. Christopher Coleman now. So when you see him around, congratulations.
I'd like to commend you, Dr. Coleman, on the perfect job, wonderful job that you're doing for the county. I'm really impressed, and as we continue to move forward, I look for great things.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Dr. Coleman.
Dr. Coleman.
Okay, next on the agenda, if you don't have anything else, report from the superintendent.
Action on closed session items.
Oh, we passed that, right? I forgot.
I'm sorry.
You know what?
Yeah,
My
we're-
mistake, because I was looking forward for Dr. Thornton, and Mr. Lombardo came up. That's it. I'm sorry. Actions on closed item, action on closed session items. We had the personnel report and the addendum. Okay,
So,
we need an action on personnel.
yes. So I'd like to make a motion that we receive the personnel report as presented by Dr. Thornton as is, and the addendum personnel report also included.
Second. We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. DeGraff made a lot of accusations, and if true, they're serious, but they'd also be verifiable. And I would just like to say, any potential promotion would occur on July the 1st. So postponing any action on Mrs. Getz by 1 month, giving Mr. DeGraff the opportunity to bring forth any evidence to the board of the accusations he made, and then we act on that next month. And we'd just require him to bring the evidence at least 3 days before the next meeting. Because again, these are serious, but we've got 6 months before the promotion would take effect. So let's give him the opportunity to bring forth the evidence.
I disagree. I don't think that the information is warranted. I've known Ms. Getz for a number of years in the county, and I'm in agreement that we are making a great selection, and I don't think that we need to prolong this any longer.
I don't dispute she's a great selection. I've had experience personally with this happen to me where I said, no, we're moving forward, I'm not listening to the accusations, to find out they were true. And I'm not saying they're true, Mrs. Getz. But I do want to get to the bottom of this, and if there is evidence, I want to see it. And if there's no evidence, we're going to know that as well. 1 month, and it should still be 5 months before the promotion would take effect.
I disagree.
I agree with Mr. Fines, because it's not like Mrs. Getz is someone new to us in the school system. Mrs. Getz been here for years. She was here when I was on the board the first time as principal, when I started as principal of Windsor. It was the Georgia Tyler School now. She was in, and she moved from there to the central office under the leadership of the former superintendent prior to Dr. Thornton. And even then, that was Dr. Pereira. She had great things to say about her. So I'm thinking if there is any negativity out there, it would have come before our HR department prior to today. I mean, all of us sitting up here, I'm sure somebody can come right up here right now, any citizen in the USA, and say something negative about us. But it should not stop the productions, what's going on in all of Wight County Schools, because every day we delay and table things like this. This is an instructional position.
It hurts our children.
It is hurting our students. Our students' education is being delayed indirectly. This is what's happening. We're in the middle, not in the middle, we're still in a pandemic. I don't know how long it is going to be, but we need all of the help we can. She has been very supportive during this pandemic and getting staff where they need to be. Even today, she gave up her staff and her time to go to Windsor, end of the county, to substitute for teachers that were out. Like I said, people can say what they want to say, but right now there is a teacher shortage all over the nation, not just teachers, but we have an abundance of people top. If you notice around you, people are going back getting their doctorates. They want to be at the top. They want to be superintendents. They want to be here. But we don't have teachers. Mrs. Getz has worked she has really worked hard with the teachers here. I have talked to some of the teachers as well as some of the building administrators, and they say they enjoy working with her. She's open. They can have open dialogue with her, and this is what we need. We can bring on a new person, but it's going to take that new person anywhere from 6 months to 12 months just to learn what's going on in all of Wight County Schools. She haven't even pretty much got to the curriculum yet. She knows all of this. She's a part of Isle of Wight now. It's just a change in title, that's all, because she's actually doing the work with the new title that we've given her, that we haven't given her, that we plan if we vote on this tonight. She's been doing that work now for years. And I don't see a reason for us to be sitting here and having an argument. I mean, it's going to be an argument no matter what. Somebody's going to disagree no matter what.
But, Madam Chair, I don't think it's an argument. The information is either there or it's not.
But we cannot verify the information.
Right.
I'm not going by just a citizen walking up and saying something negative.
That, you just made my point, Madam Chair. If we can't verify it, then we would vote in the
It's
affirmative
hearsay.
anyway.
It's hearsay.
And then it's not verifiable, it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. But like I said, let's see if there is any evidence.
John, I'm going to put it in a language where you can understand. And you being a Christian man, being a biblical person, you're doing the exact same thing that they did to Jesus. The exact same thing.
Excuse me?
Let me make it easy for you. You're accusing.
I am accusing nobody of anything.
But you're validating what someone walked up. We don't have to validate that. We are elected officials. We are the board. Ms. Getz has been in this county for almost 20 years and has done exemplary work with our children.
And I am arguing with none of that.
Okay, so then
But somebody made an accusation.
Let's move on. There's a motion on the floor. There's a motion on the floor. I need a second, and we'll vote on it.
Mr. Vines, thank you. There is a motion on the floor. We've had the discussion. At this time, board, please vote. Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Next thing on the agenda. Adoption of consent agenda. I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as attached and presented. And this would consist of field trips, facility usages, those financial reports, all of those things were included in that package. I need a second.
A second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will vote. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, policy updates and revisions. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's right. Policy updates and revisions. We have policy for second read, and on second read policies, it's an action item. We have policy ADRL 12.921. Actually, that particular policy, for those of you, is the educational philosophy. Wight County School Board is committed to providing equal opportunity for every student to achieve intellectual, social, emotional, and physical growth, and to ensuring that each student be equipped to communicate effectively with other people, to be competent both in the workplace and in higher education, and to feel confident of the ability to make creative, constructive decisions. Wight County School Board provides the necessary trained and dedicated leadership, qualified personnel, equipment, and materials to assure an appropriate education for every student. Treat all members of the school community equitably and with respect. Allocates and uses assets fairly and effectively. It was last revised August the 12th, 2021, and this is just a review. And if we vote on it tonight, that date will change to January of 2022, January 14th. So do I hear? Yes, we need a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the policies for second read.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the policy for the second read. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. The second and third bullet under Wight County Schools, to me, I think they could be written better. The second one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. According to National Association of Colleges and Employers, the term equity refers to fairness and justice and is distinguished from equality. Whereas equality means providing the same to all, equity means recognizing that we do not all start from the same place and must acknowledge and make adjustments to imbalances. The process is ongoing, requires to identify and overcome intentional and unintentional barriers arising from bias or systemic structures. Okay, to place how we make these adjustments is not how we treat each other, but should be how we allocate our resources. Madam Chair, I motion that the words in the second bullet, treats all members of the school community equitably and with respect, be replaced with treats all members of the school community with dignity and respect. And the words in the third bullet, allocates and uses assets fairly and efficiently, be replaced with allocates and uses assets fairly in an efficient and equitable manner. Thank you.
Your motion is out of order. There's a motion already on the floor.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. We had a discussion. At this time, we can vote on the motion, the original motion that was on the floor.
Point of order, Madam Secretary. I'd like to make an amendment to the motion on the floor.
We just voted on the motion. It was put up for vote. Did you vote? Did you not vote?
Well, we had
You could have
discussion.
abstained. We had a discussion. You discussed, and no one else discussed. The vote was there.
Are we using Robert's Rule of Order, Madam Secretary?
We're using Wight County School Board at this time rule of order.
Madam Chair, it sounds like Ms. Devine has a motion, and Mr. Colick has a motion to amend. That's a proper motion,
Okay.
Madam Chair, so if
we have two motions now.
Well, so I think what we have to do is, under the Robert's Rule of Order, Mr. Colick is correct that he can make a motion that is ancillary to the main motion on the floor, which is to amend. So if you want to vote, we can, the board can certainly have a discussion on that, the motion that, that Mr. Collick is presenting, and then after which we can take a vote, and the board can decide whether to, you know, however the board chooses to vote on Mr. Collick's motion, and then depending on that vote, then the board can vote on the main motion on the floor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any discussion on Mr. Collick's concerns or motion?
I don't have any. I don't have any.
Okay. So we need to make a,
So what was
we
your?
have a motion.
Was there a second?
We need a second.
No, there's no second.
There was no second, so we don't have a motion. You don't have a motion.
There's
I mean,
no second to
You
mine.
don't have a proper motion unless it's second, and it wasn't second. So therefore, I went forward with the first motion.
Right. I think I was just clarifying that Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Collick can certainly
He had
make a
permission-
motion.
Yeah, I mean, not permission, but he could, by Robert's Rules of Order, yes, but there was no second, and
Okay.
I knew that.
Okay.
Thank you, Attorney Pack, for keeping me in order. Okay. All right, so at this time, we had the discussion. Thank you, Mr. Collick, for your concerns, but we did not have a second on it. There was a second on the first motion. So the first motion is the one that we're gonna vote on, which is leave the, we're gonna leave it policies for the second reading as it was written in the, on the agenda. Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. We'll move on to requests to speak. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
In accordance to policy BDDH-E, presentations of information on any subject will be concluded by the discretion of the board. No person will be recognized to speak more than once. Citizens scheduled on the agenda to speak will be permitted 4 minutes maximum time for their presentation. Delegations will be requested to limit their speakers to 2. Persons speaking are asked to be specific, state the issues for the board's consideration, and attach a copy of your prepared remarks. If you have prepared remarks, they should be given to the board clerk. Please do not approach the board members. The school board requests that speakers refrain from referring to specific individuals and that any matter related to a specific student or individual will be discussed in a closed meeting. First, we have Ms. Williams. Okay, just the board members.
Got another assignment.
Always an assignment, that's what I do.
I brought my other one last month.
Me too, I did it.
So what happened to the other one assignments?
Nobody.
Points
Hey,
reduced,
I don't have
okay.
mine.
I first wanted to start off with saying, Neely, I enjoyed seeing you on the film. I don't teach in this
Here you
district,
go.
but, I see it, I
Yep,
see
mine's
it.
right
But now
there.
you all are supposed to switch. Okay, so you have to actually switch your assignment.
We did. We
You
did it
did?
last week.
Okay,
We
so
were
you
not-
all follow
I mean, last
directions.
month.
Okay, I like this, I like
Right
these type
here.
of students, okay.
Thank you.
But Neely, I wanted to say that I don't teach in this district, but I am a teacher, and so I represent your heart, and so I love seeing you there. It just enlightened me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I gave you all some slips of paper, and I'll explain. And my students, they actually wrote it and then they erased it, and I'll tell you all what that means in a second. It says, public schools are not teaching our children how to hate America, but the insults and the threats that we continuously hear within our community are showing our children that hate and discrimination and the lack of wanting to know hidden knowledge that is missing from the curriculum does exist in our world. And my title is about curriculum and instruction. So the wearing of our masks have become new forms of hidden racism, division, and political arguments. While we're pulling up credentials of others and wondering how many of these people or these parents they're pulling up these credentials will be willing to use their own credentials to upgrade their credentials to come and substitute in our classrooms and stop being green. So if you don't know what green means, that's something that the students do. So that's something that you need to make sure that you're beginning to understand and stop living in that traditional mindset. So just because there is an upgraded title included with a name does not mean that he or she is qualified to fulfill an assignment. We must begin to evaluate the passion and the experience and not the title. If you don't know what that means, it simply means that you don't understand our children of today. So I'm asking each school board member to search within his or her own heart to address the true issues that we're facing within our schools, developing activities and programs to address the depression with our students and our faculty, creating lounges that exemplify positive emotions, and networking with our churches and our other school districts. We don't have time to talk about CRT, which I named it clueless rhetoric of today, which is what I like to call it since it's pure ignorance. We do know that real teachers, if you don't know real teachers, we laugh at that concept because we know what to teach and we don't teach that in our classrooms. These next components are not in the curriculum, but we are heroes, so we know how to differentiate and how to be equitable, which I would never take away from my lessons, no matter who tells me to take it away. We teach the student from the broken home, the student with cuts on his or her arm, the student who considers his or herself a transgender student, the abused student, the student who lives in the motel after leaving the classroom, or the student who is hungry, who eats in her classroom pantry, or the student who needs a coat from our community closet in school. We become their safe space and their place when we look around and hear that adults are acting like kids who need to learn crisscross applesauce, only we are afraid to sit down on a foundation that we don't understand. So our legs will not fold because we are so traditionally straight. But it has become a black and a white thing, a Republican and a Democratic thing, which leads to stupid things when it should be a hard thing. And I hope that you don't think that a new governor or any governor will fix our school system because it's already been broken.
1 minute.
So in case you don't know, my fellow teachers are true warriors. Only teachers will understand this statement. We teach what we have to, and sometimes the curriculum or pacing guide does not support those particular needs. So some of these parents get up here and they talk about CRT and the books with explicit language. By the way, the swords at the beginning of the prologue of Romeo and Juliet were not actually swords. But Shakespearean language was so eclectic that a simple mind could not grasp his words, but language evolves, people evolve, and words become modernized so that we can try to understand. But your kids know what those swords really are. So it's not about giving these people out here what they want and not what I want. It's about giving each student what he or she needs. You can never erase what was written. The print of it is still there. So if you look closely on your piece of paper, no one is trying to erase what has been written. We as great educators, we're trying to show our new students this new world and how to add to it so that our students and our children and their children can be prepared to understand diversity. So if our school for today becomes a reflection of our community, of what we are hearing and seeing, then we're all punished. Thank you. I do want to say, diversity empowers an intelligent heart and mind. Diversidad da poder a la mente. Thank you.
Next, we have a Heidi Schwartz.
Good evening, Mr. Coleman. I will say I've sent out a lot of emails. I have not gotten responses, so I'm just going to say that real quick. I'd like to address the Klb policy. I've been told a lot lately to go through that. So that needs to be looked into because it's a long process and it took me 3 months to follow through it. I was directed by the school board members to go through it in regards to the controversial apps on the students' clever devices. I was denied at the first level. I moved on to the second level. I met with Mr. Lombardo and Ms. Getz. They were the two of the people that purchased one of the apps in question, and I didn't think that was very fair to then have to go to them for an appeal. Because then they're making the decision on the appeal, and they purchased the device or the apps. During the meeting, they gave me and another parent name of 4 professors who they stated had done studies that aligned the app with the curriculum for the instructional use. Keep in mind, these apps, we were told, were purchased for teachers to use with and align with the curriculum. The teacher I met with in my first meeting didn't even know that the apps existed. We had a parent reach out to the 4 professors whose names that they gave us, and none of those professors said that they did any studies regarding these. I was denied at the second level, and so I asked why could not I at least have the items removed from my child's device. I was told by Ms. Getz, just go back to the principal and tell him to remove him. So I thought, well, why did I just spend 3 months going through policy, which is what is marked on your KLB form, to have it removed from your student's device, if all I had to do was go to the principal to have them removed? That policy needs to be relooked at. This week, I think many of you know that I had an issue with the student survey that went out to the Smithfield High School level. All I should have to say about this is that on your own school board policy, on the JOB section, it says that the school board in the section C states that the state law says that parents should have 30 days notice in advance if any survey goes out to students. We did not get a 30-day notice. It went out on January 10th on Monday, and our students were access to it, and it was given to them. I made a complaint. The emails went out. Today, Dr. Thornton told me that he would not discuss this any further with me. If you're aware of these emails that are going back and forth, you know what took place. This is what I have to say. Dr. Lane, the state superintendent's memo went out in October, and it was sent to Dr. Thornton in regards to the survey procedures. Dr. Thornton is responsible for this procedure, period, regardless of the statements that is going back and forth. The VDOE works hand in hand with the DCJS regarding the surveys. The superintendent is an employee of this school board. He's an employee like anybody else, like a principal, a teacher, or a bus driver. Dr. Thornton last year made up a protocol, Thornton did not follow protocol from Dr. Lane, 30 days of notification. He failed to notify the school board of the survey, or did he? Did he let you guys know that this survey was going out? Because you guys have to follow state law too. You didn't let us parents know. There's 2 chances of the parents being able to be notified, and neither of those were followed. To me, that he's in violation of this. The school board's in violation of this.
One minute.
Windsor High School is scheduled January 25th, and their letter went out January 11th. To me, all of it should be taken off. Last year, Dr. Thornton wrote a protocol regarding personal contact with Ms. Carr, and she signed it for all employees of Wight County would follow and how to discipline, including himself, not to be exempt. Last night, Dr. Thornton failed his own protocol in his response to me as a parent. He accused me of having a vendetta, and he was rude, and he was accusatory. If any other teacher or administrator had written a response to a parent as this, I'm positive they would be disciplined. It's not his first time responding to me. He's also sent text messages, which we found in FOIA, between a school board member. He's been using words like vendetta against me, unkind texts, and other issues. I don't have time to speak on all of it because we only have 4 minutes, but I'm asking that there's a disciplinary policy be used from you as a school board. I'm a mom. And that's what I'm here for. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Schwartz, for coming out tonight.
Next, we have Laura Fletcher.
Oops. Well, I'll just let it hang. Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Thornton. I'm Laura Fletcher, speaking regarding a laundry list of concerns. Months ago now, at a candidate meet and greet, I've mentioned it to you before, a gentleman asked if any of the candidates had considered, this was for school board, and others as well, the financial implications of race-based politics. Companies are making tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions, generating equity curriculum, and equity surveys are part of that. These equity surveys, which I understand you've begun doing these surveys, are developed by education companies like Panorama Education, which is Merrick Garland's son-in-law's company, in conjunction with Facebook. When they push these surveys, this is what I want you all to understand. They are data mining our children and data mining our families to develop curriculum to sway opinion and minds. Entities that we don't know, that we can't control, now have intimate information when they receive these surveys. about our children, their parents, and families. These questions can include sexual issues, leading questions regarding LGBTQ and trans issues. Equity surveys also feed into social emotional learning. I really encourage the new members on the board to learn what this is because it sounds good. Social emotional learning is essentially teaching and preparing children and young minds to accept relativism. Relativism is an idea that there are no concrete truths. So for those of you that believe in God, that's an issue. It undermines conscience and is a counter to a strong foundation of empirical, solid facts, which is what we're here for. We're teaching children facts. We're also taking away vital instruction time in doing these surveys, particularly right now, and putting additional stress on teachers, students, administrators. Regarding the ESSER funds, I understand these funds are primarily to be used to make up for learning deficits children gained as a result of the pandemic. We're spending tremendous amounts of money, but with very little concrete aid for teachers and students. Regarding masks, there's zero evidence. And I just want you all to hear me because we can fight about this all we want, but there is zero evidence that they provide any protection for our children and mounting evidence that they are harmful. My main issue is how important it is for children to learn to read facial expressions, to be able to express joy or anger or hurt, and to see kindness on someone else's face. Please be courageous and allow parents to make decisions for their own children, allow them this freedom. Transparency is an issue. Please, each of you, consider it. I wanted to bring to your attention number 11 on the VSBA Code of Conduct, which you all approved last week. It says, I will be informed about current educational issues through individual study and participation in appropriate programs such as those sponsored by my state and national school board associations. That's fine. You can be responsible for that, but you're also responsible to your constituents for understanding issues that are of concern to us. You should make that a concern. And finally, regarding Ms. Getz, just sitting in the audience, I didn't know what was coming, but I'd like to say you've actually done Ms. Getz a disservice tonight. There have been accusations made, and her promotion now was rushed through and voted on. Mr. Collick was right. I think it's unfair. Public confidence in her professionalism and ability has been undermined.
Time is up, madam.
And you owed it to her to give her a chance to say something.
Next, we
Thank
have,
you.
oh, I'm sorry, Timothy Mallory.
Good evening, House School Board Chair, Vice Chair, School Board members, and Superintendent. My name is Tim Mallory. Just want to have a few words with you today. As the pandemic wreaks havoc on our communities, everyone is on edge. The educational environment has changed since the pandemic. There's never been more of a difficult time for educators and support personnel working in our schools. And we need to show them how grateful we are for their heroic efforts during this pandemic. And among all other distractions of violence in our communities, bad disciplinary behaviors, and mental health concerns, still having the responsibility of educating our children. Among the many responsibilities that you have overseeing the vision of the school district that seeks high achievement for all students is the most critical. You must engage the community and support your superintendent, administrators, teachers, and support personnel in improving the quality of teaching and learning, a goal that is directly correlated with how our students perform on our assessments, and it should be the core business of school districts. The community expects that you, your fellow school board colleagues, will hold each other, the superintendent, central office, and the school staff accountable for maintaining these standards. Know that the lesson of the day is not always important if there are distractors that cause barriers for our students to learn. Be prepared to participate responsibly. Understand your role and duties as a school board member. Do your homework. Remember that sometimes the work is to listen and to agree and disagree as your values dictate, and accept that the group decision is legitimate even if it's not your personal choice. It's not acceptable to have opinions and not express them. Don't lead the district from behind your desk or operate in a silo. Focus on serving all children. Ensure every deliberation, decision, action reflects the best interests of every student you serve. No child is more important than another. Represent the community, not a single constituency. You will understand or identify with certain constituencies, but you must remember that as a board member means serving in trust for the entire community. There's no way you can provide a spokesperson for every constituency or legitimate interest. So in moral sense, you must stand for them all. Be responsible for group behavior and productivity. You are responsible for not only yourself, but the group. If the group doesn't do its job, meddles in administration, or breaks its own rule, you personally share the responsibility. Honor divergent opinions without being intimidated by them. You are obligated to express your honest opinions, issues, and so are each other board members. Encourage your colleagues to speak their opinions and listen to them carefully and respectfully. But don't allow yourself to be intimidated by louder or more insistent board members or constituents. Please view the school district holistically. Use their special expertise to inform your colleagues if you have special expertise. Don't feel that you have to be the knowing of knowing it all. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know. But work on identifying people in the community members and colleagues that have expertise in special areas. Many times decisions are made in education without involving those that have education knowledge, skills, and abilities to get the job done in educating and keeping our children safe. Be aware of the community and staff's perception of the board. If the board is perceived as being unethical, dishonest, secretive, or self-serving, they'll become the reality of the community. Involve diverse citizens in dialogue, deliberation, collaboration, thinking around common interests to support the school community. Serve as navigators for families when they have questions or concerns in their child's education. Cultivate a climate of diversity, foster inclusion, and promote equity. Remember, the work you do today
Mallory,
leads
your
back
time
to
is up.
classroom tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out, Mr. Mallory.
Mr. Uzzle?
Excuse me, if you're in the audience without a mask, please put your mask on. Unless you are drinking water, you can take it off to drink your water. But otherwise, in this building, it's not a school board rule, government rule. Mask, please. Okay.
Good evening, board members. Michael of the Harder District. Happy New Year to all. And welcome aboard to the newcomers. And welcome to the new staff that we have in there. I know we all heard the saying, see something, say something, now see something, say something, do something.
Yes.
That's motto now. I just wanted to share y'all some good trouble that has been going on for some time now. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but I will hand Ms. Tracy this information to y'all to review it and get back with me. But these are some serious matters that we need to take issues up immediately, because we can't continue to let these things go on. And I would like to have a closed session coming up after y'all review this, because what I have to show y'all and what I have to present to y'all will cause, if it's get out of hand, it will cause this county to be really uproar for the education. And like I said, some of the issues is on here. I'm gonna hand it to Ms. Tracy and y'all can review it and get back with me. But I need to have a closed session on the last issue you will see in here. Because like I said, I know everybody's new and we all gonna make mistakes. But like some audience say, all we trying to do now is keep the communication line open and be transparent as much as possible, because that will help all of us. And once we do that, then we all can kind of work together. Let's see. And that's about it. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Uzzle, for coming out tonight.
Thanks. Mr. Boykin?
Boykin, Carswell District, soon to be District 1 unless they change the numbers. It's nice to come up here tonight and greet you, Madam Chairman and Board, to have come to bring up a problem that seems to have been solved. I'd like to congratulate Mr. Christensen on the work he did on the school bus driver project to find funding, and basically that's what I came about. And I hung around to tell him, you did a heck of a job. If you can't get the kids to school, there's no need to spend millions for the schools. And people may not think that a school bus driver makes more than $15 an hour, maybe that's enough, but in a service you gotta pay them to get the people there. That's why policemen make a lot more now than they ever made before, simply because, well, nobody wants to do that job, but sooner or later, they're gonna make $100 a year to get them to do it. And if you gotta pay the school bus drivers $20 an hour or $25 or whatever, you gotta have it. And enough money gets spent on some programs and these surveys, several $100,000 on social engineering and these other things. Take the money and spend it on the school bus drivers or whatever it takes to get them there. But again, thank you all for passing his suggestions, and thank you for a job well done.
Thank you, Mr. Boykins.
That's all.
Okay, this is the end. Is there anyone out there that did not have an opportunity to sign up tonight? This is your opportunity to come forth now. All right, seeing none, we'll move on. And I would like to thank all of you for coming out tonight to speak. The next thing, we're going to have board member requests and comments. And I know earlier, Mr. Colick, you mentioned to myself and the clerk that you had some requests. This is a time if you want to bring them up, and we will have an opportunity to hear them. And if it's something that we would like to act on, we can put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay, very good. I do have a few comments, Madam Chair, but I will mention that first. Next month I would like to have put on the agenda the Superintendent Code of Conduct for adoption by the school board, and it's directly from the AASA website. I've given everybody a hard copy of that, and if you need a soft copy, I will get it to you. And Madam Chair, you do have a soft copy that I sent you the other day, and Tracy, you do too. A couple other comments that I do have. The bus driver situation, everybody is all over that. One of the recommendations that I would have, and this is totally the superintendent's, call, it's his purview, but we have a working group composed of citizens, school administrators, transportation specialists, and HR specialists to see if we can establish new methods of recruiting and retaining our drivers. And I think, Mr. Christensen, you did a wonderful job tonight identifying some ways. Identify the most effective ways of car drivers. See if there's any potential updates to routing software, and maybe identify any schedule changes that could alleviate the stress of drivers. Maybe, schools, when schools start and things like that. Or possibly hire a modeling and simulation firm to do some of that work for us. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, more often than not in these meetings, everything's negative. So tonight, I wanted to mention a couple staff members at Carsville Elementary School who have been working very closely with students who have been sick and not able to attend school a couple times so far this year. The teachers are Mrs. Kellison and Mrs. Jones, and they have been cited as going above and beyond what's required of them. And when I talked to Ms. Hatfield, the principal, she said that is not uncommon in that school. Nearly every teacher is the same way. So I want to really publicly give kudos to the staff at Carsville, and I'm sure Carsville Elementary is not unique. I'm sure it's going on throughout the county. And I also want to mention Ms. Kim, the school nurse, who has been doing an exemplary job coordinating with families and teachers. So we've got some great folks out there. And then the survey that was distributed that Mrs. Schwartz mentioned, you know, we're gonna work to do better. You mentioned the policies that are in effect. We're gonna look at, like Mr. Cunningham said, we're working many hours to make sure we know what we're supposed to do. We're gonna be going through some school board training. I'm not gonna put everything on the superintendent. I do put a lot on him, but I'm not putting everything on him. We have our responsibilities, and we've got to know what they are. But we need your help. So please, and I ask everybody that's at home listening, everybody here, if you've got an issue, please contact your school board rep, okay? Get a hold of us, and guys, let's make it that effort within 24 to 48 hours, and give us 48 hours to respond, and then hold us accountable after that. All right? If I get something from somebody and I've got to go talk to the superintendent, I've got to go talk to the chair, that's what I'm doing. And they'll both tell you that I've talked to them. But we've got a lot of work to do here. We've got one of the best school systems in the area, bar none. There are things like anywhere else that we've got to make things a little bit better, and I think we're going to. And I want to say one thing to Mrs. Getz, okay? I am a person that really digs in facts. I spent 35 years doing nothing but intelligence work, and that's what I live for, is that I want evidence. And when somebody says something, I want the evidence. I want to give them the opportunity. There is nothing personal against you. I voted for that because I do believe the opportunities have existed in the past for evidence to be brought, but I also believe that the board should have given Mr. DeGraff one more opportunity. You bring evidence because there is or there isn't, okay? And I wanted to make sure publicly that there was no outstanding issues, okay? And that you felt there were no outstanding issues. So I congratulate you, and I look forward to working with you. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collick. Any more comments?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
No,
okay.
Go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead. We can come back.
We're gonna,
I can go last.
you
Mine's
can,
not
no,
bad.
because I have some comments too. So you can go, because we haven't heard from you tonight, Mr. Vines, Mr. Cunningham, and then, what about you, Mr.? And then I'll go. So we'll probably have another few minutes if you all can just hang on.
I want to be as transparent as I possibly can.
No, oh, you wanted to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because this is very important.
Okay.
When we are in session like this, and you know who you are, please do not text us on the board. Do not text us while we're in session requesting things to be done. That is not professional, it's not ethical to do that. I'm not going to call you out this time, but the next time you send me a text message in the middle of a board meeting, I will call your name and I will ask the chairman to have you removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vines. Okay.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So we're introducing ourselves. So I'm Neely Harris. I'm the Smithfield High School Student Liaison Representative for the school board. It's a very long title. But I represent the students of Smithfield on the board. And recently I've been going, each meeting I talk about things that are happening at Smithfield just to give insight as to what's going on in the students' lives. So it hasn't been very busy because we were on break for 2 weeks. But our winter sports are in full swing. I went to a basketball game the other day. Women's basketball team won. We're moving back into our school lives from break. I know a lot of students appreciated the break, getting to sleep in. And now we're preparing for second semester. I think everyone's excited for a fresh start, new classes. So it should be good. But nothing much has happened because we weren't at school for half of it.
Thank you very much, Haley. We appreciate that coming from you. Okay, Mr. Cunningham?
Okay. what I want to talk about quickly as possible, and which I believe needs to be added to the agenda for next month, is school resource officers. The superintendent has been looking into it, but the biggest thing is on the funding. The sheriff's department, from what I understand, needs funding to put an SRO in each school resource officer, SRO, in each one of the schools that doesn't have an SRO. And right now, I don't believe the elementary schools, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe the elementary schools have SROs. I'm very proactive. I don't want to see anything happen where we could have prevented that, but it's about the funding and getting the money to support that. So I believe we're going to have to go to the Board of Supervisors to request money to actually put the officers in the schools. And the superintendent, I know he's been talking to the sheriff, at least what in golf you call it teeing the ball up. But we still need the funding. The big thing is the funding. So all the citizens I mean, if you can support us on that, I mean, make phone calls. You know the sheriff works for all of us. So, but the superintendent, if you have anything to speak on that.
Sure, Mr. Cunningham. I actually met with the sheriff yesterday, and just some preliminary discussions. If we were able to have 9 resource officers, how could we fund those? Would they be in our budget? Would they be in his budget? And I think from the past history, going way back to the prior sheriff, there's debate in the county of, we did have resource officers at the elementary, and then they were taken out of the budget. So we're having an open discussion about, we don't want them to be our employees. We can't oversee that, but could we pay for them through like purchase services? And they would work for us for 10 months. So we're preliminary, and just to share that information. And so if the board wanted something like that, I'll cost it out. We'll look at it for the upcoming budget. And then we would have to jointly go with the sheriff's department and talk to the Board of Supervisors about where this money should be and whose budget it should be.
Thank you. So, Madam Chair, like I said, I would like to add that to the agenda. If not next month, the following month, once some more information is provided and a cost estimate of what it would cost to put SROs in each one of the schools for 10 months. So that's my piece of it.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah. That's
Okay,
fine.
so clerk will take care of that. Mr. Cunningham? Anyone else say anything? Tonight I have 2 things, and going forward, we always have the eye on Isle of Wight. We have our achievers to come out here. They are our present-day students. But Isle of Wight County, every year, we graduate 500 to maybe 600 students a year from our educational program. And a lot of times, you don't hear anything about what they're doing out there in this big world. And going forward, I would like to ask my board members, if there's someone that you know in the community that have done something and they're graduates of Isle of Wight County School, please come to the board member and let us know during the comment time. Tonight, I just happened to find this one myself on social media, and her name is Emily Gibson. She graduated from Windsor High School. Now, I don't know the exact year she graduated, but I'm going to say maybe around 1999, because she graduated from Virginia Tech at 2003. Well, Ms. Gibson has been named by the president and board of Virginia Tech to represent them as the University Office of Government Community Relations Director of Legal Government and Community Relations in the New River Valley, and work with elected officials and community leaders on an array of issues important to both the university and the community. And that is a wonderful position to be in. And you all know how large Virginia Tech is, so she has a big job. And this young lady is a product of Windsor High School. And I would like to applaud her for her new position. Okay, my next one, this email was sent out today. It wasn't sent directly to the board, but a lot of times the superintendent share things with us that's sent out to the superintendent and his staff. So it actually came to the superintendent and his executive staff. It started out as good evening. I know that the last few weeks have probably been filled with lots of not so great news, but I want to share with you positive feedback, say thank you, and offer a suggestion. Thank you so incredibly much for blessing our clinic assistants. These women have been the best things to happen to the clinics in a long time. They are former waitresses, stay-home moms, CNAs, former EMTs, college students, and on the run. They have come to us from all walks of life, and they have joined us at a time that is critical in ensuring all student staff are performing safely and are safe and healthy to perform. My suggestion is, would it be possible to do a meet your clinic assistant and put their beautiful faces out to the community for parents to become familiar with and understand their roles? Many parents have no clue they exist and are surprised to get phone calls from them. An overwhelming thank you. You chose an absolute angel on this earth to guide and supervise us. LaDonna Roddy is one heck of a dynamo nurse and educator. This district truly found a gem in her. As an RN of 12 years, I know how blessed we are to have the level of skills and educational background that she brings to our district. So thank you for all that you do and have done and are doing. Warm rewards, and that was from Nurse Shea. And she also put on this a little quote. What lies before us and what lies behind us are small matters compared to what lies within us. That's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And if nothing else come before this board tonight, this meeting is adjourned.